Last week, Jeff Kaplan, Overwatch's game director, announced that a new role-locked team composition was being imposed on ranked and competitive players. The model is called 2-2-2, which basically means 2 damage, 2 tanks, and 2 supports. Every match your team will consist of this basic formula. There's been a bit of negative backlash, but for the most part, it's been overwhelmingly positive. And I think that every online competitive game has a couple of things that they can learn from Blizzard on what's actually going on here. Firstly, it tackles some of the core roots of toxicity in the game. In Overwatch and in other games like Dota 2 or League, most of the toxicity stems from a place of role selection and team composition. Players expect other players to choose roles that they're not competent with for the sake of a good team composition, only for that person to end up being the weakest link in the chain. The team falls apart at the seams and everybody blames a player who's just not good at the character that they were forced to play at the beginning of the match. Or my pet hate, even worse, at the initial character selection screen, players that rush to select a character that they're not good at purely because they like playing with that character, but in the end, losing the match with the rest of the team. With the new system, you'll be given 3 ranking scores. It's called SR in Overwatch, 1 for each role. As you start searching for a match, you'll have to search within your rank at that role, and will get matched up with other players of the same rank playing other roles. For instance, if you're a gold tank and searching for a game, you'll be matched up with other gold players in their roles, damage and support. This means that the expectation from other players of your ability will be way more accurate. You're likely to play with a character that you actually want to play with, and that the players on your team are at a closer skill level to yourself. This expectation is what dramatically increases toxicity in online games. And now that it's cleared up before you even start searching for a game, it makes your team composition far more capable in a competitive setting. At least that's how I see it. I can imagine games like Dota 2 and League introduce very similar things to great effect. I'm not gonna lie, I really think that Overwatch is gonna benefit in the long term here. I'm really excited to see how the toxicity levels pan out. Because of this new role lock system, there'll be a higher level of play. Remember, each player is locked to a role linked to a specific SR rank. So in matchmaking, you'll be placed with other players in a similar SR in their particular role. I like to think of this as kind of like high school rugby. When you're doing trials at high school, the coach will throw you into your best performing position at the rank that you play. Get it? Here's an example. For instance, you might be able to play full back for the A team, but with your current skill set, could only play prop for the E team. That method of sorting allows every team in the rank to be performing at their best. The A team is the greatest performing team composition that the school can offer, and that scales all the way down to the B team, C team. I was an under 14E, so. This new sorting performance-based system means that teams created in the matchmaking process will be way more accurate. They won't be perfect, but they'll be closer to the best team at a unified skill level with the current searching players. This probably means you won't have to shout at other players to perform when you think they're carrying because you're all at the same level, supposedly. You're also seeing eye to eye with your opponents who are equally composed with the 2-2-2 formula. So a large challenge, I feel, will be in outplaying your counterpart on the other team. Another great side effect of role lock is that it will be easier to balance existing characters as we wear in the new system, as well as adding new characters that are more balanced from the get-go. Monitoring characters in a more closed-off environment gives the developers a stronger, more consistent toolset to create new characters with, and to monitor exploits that are being abused. Also, it'll give the developers some ideas in how to plug up strange compositions or put a creative spanner in the works to the existing meta. They'll simply have more control over the game, and that's actually a good thing. Making a tighter ecosystem might sound like a bad thing for creativity, but let's go back to my rugby analogy. Most popular sports are role locked. For example, a batter in baseball, a bowler in cricket, a striker in football, the list is endless. Creativity in sports comes from amazing plays and working together within your roles, not from putting 2 goalkeepers on the field at the same time to throw off your opponents. I mean, that doesn't make sense. Or throwing in 5 strikers, that just doesn't work. I'm gonna do a little Jeff Kaplan here, guys. Get a little personal. When I was in high school, our design teacher gave us free reign 1 year to design whatever we wanted on one condition. Everybody has to use Microsoft Word. This resulted in some of the class's most creative projects. There were album covers, typographic projects, there were comic books, just so many works that were just unexpectedly great. I learned that year that boundaries get you more creative with the fundamentals. Not surprisingly, I learned a similar thing in college when I studied art direction. A lot of our assignments were centered around restrictions that challenged our fundamental understanding of conceptual thinking and just pure raw execution. Creativity doesn't go away, it's just rerouted. And lastly, I'd like to commend Blizzard on telling the community what's good for the game. It's actually something that I don't see a lot with creative projects where shareholders are involved, like in big gaming companies, especially especially in the video game industry. It's obvious that they're deeply invested in how Overwatch evolves. They understand the game way better than we do, as much as we'd like to, and as much as a lot of people tell us in public lobbies. They're watching the Overwatch League, picking up trends when we play, identifying weaknesses in the overall game. They have data that we've never seen. And most importantly, they're brave to make drastic changes on a global scale. And this gives me confidence that the game developers actually care about us. You can see, this isn't a money-making decision. They don't want to piss off players, and they just want to polish Overwatch to be the best competitive shooter that they can. And I wish more game developers out there had the same thinking. Thank you, Jeff, and the rest of the Overwatch team. I'm really hoping that other game developers will take a leaf out of your book and make a lot of the other games that we care about in the same way.